At 7 a.m., my unemployed sister Cassandra showed up at the apartment I rent for my parents. "I'll live here," she announced. My mom called shortly after, declaring, "We're doubling your rent to cover our expenses." When I protested, saying I'd move out, they laughed. So I took all the furniture. My name is Emily, and I'm 28 years old. I thought I had the perfect setup, working as a social media marketer while renting a cozy apartment from my parents at a reasonable price. I've been saving for my own place, building my future step by step. But one morning at 7 a.m., Cassandra arrived with her suitcases, and before I could process it, my mom informed me she was moving in and my rent was doubling. My carefully constructed life was unraveling before my eyes. Before everything spiraled, I was genuinely proud of my life. As a social media marketer at Horizon Media, a thriving agency in downtown Crestview, I'd carved out a comfortable niche. Our office was a sleek, modern space with glass walls, open workstations, and a break room stocked with everything from cold brew to sparkling water. My desk sat by a floor-to-ceiling window overlooking the city skyline, fueling both inspiration and a sense of achievement every morning. My salary covered my expenses while allowing me to save 20% each month for my future home fund. I'd been at Horizon for 4 years and had recently been tasked with leading our biggest client, a national wellness brand aiming to overhaul their digital presence. My boss hinted that a promotion was likely if the campaign succeeded, which would boost my salary by at least 15%. The apartment I rented from my parents was my sanctuary, a one-bedroom in a quiet Crestview neighborhood, close enough to downtown for an easy commute, but far enough to escape the city's chaos when needed. When my parents bought the building as an investment 5 years ago, they offered me a unit at below-market rent, which felt like a godsend. I poured my heart into making the space my own. The living room boasted a plush sectional sofa I'd paid off over 6 months, a coffee table I'd scored at a garage sale and refinished myself, and bookshelves filled with marketing and psychology books alongside vinyl records I'd collected since college. My kitchen, though small, was equipped with quality appliances that made cooking a joy. The Vitamix blender was a splurge after my first bonus, and the espresso machine was last year's birthday gift to myself. My bedroom was my haven, a memory foam mattress worth every cent, sheets with a thread count that rivaled luxury hotels, and a reading nook by the window where I spent rainy Sundays with coffee and a novel. Every item in my apartment had a story, reflecting years of careful selection and financial planning. My long-term goals were on track. With my savings rate and potential promotion, I estimated I'd have enough for a down payment on my own place within 3 years. I'd even started browsing real estate listings. Not seriously yet, but to get a feel for the market and neighborhoods in Crestview and beyond. My relationship with my family, especially Cassandra, had always been complex. 3 years younger, she was the golden child in our parents' eyes, always excused for her mistakes. While I worked part-time jobs through college to graduate with minimal debt, Cassandra attended a pricey private university in Lakeport, changed majors 3 times, and had her tuition fully covered by our parents. This pattern persisted into adulthood. When Cassandra needed a car, they bought her one. When I needed one, I took out a loan. When she lost her job, she moved back home rent-free. When I faced a layoff early in my career, I got a loan from my parents with interest. Don't get me wrong, I loved my family. But I'd accepted that there were different rules for me and Cassandra. I'd made peace with it by building an independent life where I didn't rely on their support or approval. The apartment deal seemed like a rare win, a chance to benefit from family ties while maintaining my autonomy. There were warning signs my equilibrium was about to be disrupted. 2 weeks earlier, Cassandra texted me out of nowhere, asking how I was a rarity since we only talked at family events. Then, my mom mentioned that Cassandra had split with her boyfriend and quit her job at a boutique in Lakeport where she'd been a sales associate for 8 months. "Your sister's going through a tough time," Mom said. "Family needs to stick together." I nodded sympathetically over the phone, unaware of the storm brewing. The night before everything changed, I was in bed, scrolling Pinterest for kitchen backsplash ideas for a summer project, oblivious that within 24 hours, my peace would be shattered by a knock at the door. The knocking began at 7 a.m. on a Tuesday, pulling me from sleep 30 minutes before my alarm. Groggy and in pajamas, I stumbled to the door, expecting a delivery or maintenance issue. Instead, I found Cassandra with two massive suitcases, a duffel bag, and her designer purse. Her usually flawless hair was in a messy ponytail, her eyes puffy from crying or exhaustion. "Hey, Em," she said with forced cheer. "Surprise! I'll be staying with you for a while." I stood frozen. "Cassandra, what's going on? Why are you here so early?" She pushed past me, rolling her luggage into my living room. "Jake and I broke up. He cheated with a coworker. Can you believe it? After 2 years. And my boss at the boutique was totally unreasonable about me needing time off, so I quit. I can't handle a toxic workplace on top of heartbreak." I closed the door, trying to process. "I'm sorry about Jake and the job that's rough, but Cass, this is a one-bedroom apartment. There's no space. Why didn't you go to Mom and Dad's?" She flopped onto my sofa. "Their house is under renovation, remember? The guest room's a mess. Plus, Dad's snoring is unbearable now. And Mom's on this health kick, nothing but kale and quinoa. I'd lose it there." She glanced around. "This place is perfect, Em. You've always had great taste." I cringed at the childhood nickname. "Cassandra, I work from home 2 days a week. I need my space. This won't work." My phone rang Mom's name on the screen. Dread settled in as I answered. "Emily, Cassandra's there, right?" She didn't wait for a reply. "Make her feel welcome. She's going through a hard time and needs family support." "Mom, I get that she's struggling, but my place is too small for two." "Maybe she could stay with Natalie?" I suggested, referencing Cassandra's friend with a two-bedroom in Lakeport. "Natalie's not family," Mom snapped. "Family takes care of each other, Emily. Don't be selfish." I stepped into the kitchen so Cassandra wouldn't hear. "It's not about being selfish, Mom. There's literally no space. She can sleep on the couch. It's temporary until she's back on her feet," Mom said, her tone making it clear this was non-negotiable. "How temporary?" I asked, watching Cassandra unpack toiletries onto my coffee table. "As long as she needs," Mom replied vaguely. "Don't be difficult. I raised you better. Do I need to get your father involved?" The threat was clear. Dad would be even less flexible. "Fine," I said, defeat heavy in my voice. "She can stay for now, but we need a long-term plan." "That's my girl," Mom said, her tone warm again. "Call if you need anything. Love you both." I hung up and watched Cassandra rearrange my throw pillows and place her framed photos next to mine on the bookshelf. A wave of invasion hit me, but I swallowed it. "So," I said, forcing calm, "the couch pulls out into a bed. We'll need to fold it up during the day for my work meetings on Tuesdays and Thursdays." Cassandra barely looked up. "Actually, I was thinking I'd take the bedroom. The living room's so bright in the morning, and you know I'm not a morning person. Plus, I need closet space for my clothes." I stared, disbelief rising. "Cassandra, this is my apartment. I'm not giving up my bedroom." She gave me that hurt, indignant look she'd perfected with our parents. "Wow, Em. I just lost my boyfriend and job. I'm at rock bottom, and you can't make a small sacrifice? The living room's bigger anyway." I held my ground. "You get the couch. That's the compromise." My phone buzzed with a text from Mom. "Be kind to your sister. Remember all the times she was there for you." I couldn't recall those times, but I knew this fight wasn't worth it today. "Fine," I said through gritted teeth. "You can use the living room, but we need ground rules." Cassandra's face lit up. "You're the best sister. This'll be fun, like when we shared a room as kids." I didn't remind her those days were far from fun, with her borrowing my things and complaining to our parents when I set boundaries. As she unpacked, I texted my friend Sarah. "Cassandra just moved in. No warning, no choice. Send wine and patience." Sarah replied instantly. "Oh no, flashbacks to my awful college roommate. Coming over tonight with emergency supplies. Hang in there." Watching Cassandra claim my space, singing to herself, I wondered how long I could endure before something broke. The first week with Cassandra was as tough as I'd feared. I kept my routine up at 7 a.m., working by 8:30, but Cassandra slept until noon. Her presence turned my peaceful living room into a chaotic bedroom boutique makeup studio. On Wednesday, during a key client video call, I angled my laptop to hide the blankets on the sofa, makeup on the coffee table, and clothes draped over chairs. When my boss noted my unusual background, I mumbled about redecorating and vowed to confront Cassandra that evening. But talking to her was like hitting a wall. When I suggested job hunting, she sighed. I'm healing. When I asked her to clean up, she promised to but didn't. When I mentioned the rising grocery bill, she said she needed comfort food for her trauma. By week's end, my fridge was rated meal prep containers empty, my specialty coffee beans nearly gone, even my hidden dark chocolate stash depleted. Cassandra, I said one evening, finding her wrapped in my favorite blanket, watching reality TV at full blast. We need to talk about house rules. She looked annoyed. Can it wait for a commercial? No, it can't. I've been trying to talk all week. I sat across from her with a notepad of guidelines. First, quiet hours for when I'm working or sleeping. Second, shared expenses like groceries and utilities, which are up since you arrived. Third, personal space and belongings. She rolled her eyes. Are you seriously giving me a roommate contract? I'm your sister, not some random off the internet. That's why we need boundaries, I said, keeping my voice even. Because we're sisters, things get messy without clear communication. She laughed and turned back to her show. You're so uptight, Em. Relax. This isn't forever. How long then? I pressed. Are you looking for jobs or apartments? She sighed. Stop pressuring me. I'm processing my breakup. Besides, Mom and Dad said I can stay as long as I need. That hit me. Wait, what exactly did they say about you staying here? She shrugged. That you have plenty of space, could use the company, and since they own the building, it's like staying with family. My blood boiled. I stepped onto my balcony and called my parents. Dad answered on the fourth ring. Did you and Mom tell Cassandra she could move in indefinitely without asking me? A pause. Emily, your sister's struggling. The apartment's big enough for both of you temporarily. We thought you'd want to help family. But it's not temporary, is it? She's not looking for a job or place, and she's not contributing. His tone hardened. We give you a steep discount on that apartment. Most people would be grateful. The message was clear. The apartment wasn't really mine. It was a family asset they could reallocate. I'm grateful, I said carefully, but I need to live my life. Cassandra's not respecting my space or things. You've always been the responsible one, Emily, Dad said, softening into manipulation. Cassandra needs stability. Be the big sister. I ended the call resigned. This was the childhood dynamic repeating. Cassandra's needs always trumped mine. Things worsened over the next weeks. Cassandra invited friends over without warning, sometimes during my work calls. She borrowed my clothes, returning them stained or stretched. The water bill doubled from her 40-minute showers. Electricity spiked from her constant use of my styling tools. My peaceful mornings were gone, navigating her clutter. Evenings were impossible with her loud friends or late-night phone calls. My weekends were hijacked by her emotional crises. My work suffered. I missed a deadline for the first time. My boss, Karen, called me in, concerned about my performance. My promotion prospects dimmed. Is everything okay at home? She asked during our one-on-one. I opted for a half-truth. Family issues, my sister's staying with me temporarily, it's an adjustment. Family's complicated, Karen said. Don't let it impact your work too long. The wellness account is critical. That evening, I stayed late at the office, avoiding home. I canceled plans with friends, embarrassed by my apartment state and exhausted by tension. One night, after finding Cassandra had used my expensive face serum, emptying the bottle, I broke down in my bathroom and called Sarah. I can't do this, I sobbed. I'm a guest in my own home. My parents won't listen. Cassandra won't change. I'm trapped. Have you considered moving? Sarah asked gently. On short notice, at market rates? My parents charge 30% below market. I can't afford anything comparable. Maybe not comparable, Sarah said, but something that's yours, where you set the rules. Is your sanity worth the price difference? Looking at my overtaken sanctuary, I realized she might be right. But before I could act, things escalated. 1 month after Cassandra moved in, Dad called while I was at work, his tone formal. Emily, your mother and I want a family discussion tonight. It's important you and Cassandra are there. We'll come by at 7 p.m. Dread hit me. What's this about, Dad? We'll discuss it tonight, he said cryptically, hanging up. I spent the day distracted, imagining scenarios. Were they taking Cassandra back? Had they found her a place? Or was it something else? When I got home, Cassandra had tidied the apartment at first and was unusually quiet, checking her phone. Do you know what this is about? I asked. She shrugged, avoiding my eyes. Not really. Dad just said they want to talk to us both. At 7 p.m., our parents arrived. Mom brought a lasagna, so we wouldn't worry about dinner, and Dad carried a folder that screamed trouble. We sat at my flea market dining table, lovingly restored. Mom served the lasagna as Dad opened the folder. Emily, as you know, Cassandra's been here a month. Since the arrangement's working, we need to adjust your rental agreement. I froze, fork midair. What adjustments? He slid a paper across. We're increasing your rent next month, double what you pay now. I nearly choked. Double? Why? There are 2 people here now, Mom said, as if it were obvious. Twice the utilities, twice the wear on the property. But Cassandra's not paying anything, I said, my voice rising. She doesn't have a job. That's why we need to adjust your rent, Dad said patiently, as if I were slow. To cover Cassandra's expenses while she gets back on her feet. I glanced at Cassandra, who studied her plate, a faint smile on her lips. She'd known. Let me get this straight, I said slowly. You want me to pay double rent to cover Cassandra living here, even though I didn't invite her, don't have space, and am already dealing with increased costs and disruption? Now, Emily, Mom said, her warning tone familiar from childhood. Cassandra's families support each other. Why is the support always one way? I asked. Why am I always giving while Cassandra takes? Dad frowned. That's unfair, Emily. Your sisters had bad luck. Bad luck or bad choices? The words escaped before I could stop them. Silence fell. Cassandra's eyes welled with tears on cue. I can't believe you'd say that, Mom scolded. After all we've done, giving you this apartment at below market rent. I've paid rent every month, I countered. I've maintained and improved it. This was a fair business deal. And now the deal's changing, Dad said firmly. The new rent starts next month. You have 2 weeks to adjust. The new amount would consume 70% of my income after taxes, obliterating my savings and lifestyle. I can't afford this, I said. Then get a better job, Dad suggested, or take on freelance work. You're always talking about side hustles. His casual dismissal of my reality snapped something in me. Years of being the responsible one, watching Cassandra get endless chances while I worked harder for less, culminated here. Or, I said, my voice steady despite the storm inside, I could move out. They burst into laughter. Move out where? Mom chuckled. Do you know what rents are like now? You wouldn't find anything like this, even at the new rate, Dad added confidently. Your whole life's here, Cassandra said. Your stuff, your routine, you wouldn't leave. Their laughter stung. They thought I was trapped, lacking the courage to act. I'll start looking for a place tomorrow, I said quietly. Dad waved dismissively. Don't be dramatic, Emily. Sign the agreement and we'll enjoy this nice dinner. I took the pen, held it over the paper, then set it down. I'll let you know my decision by the end of the week. Dinner passed awkwardly, with my parents and Cassandra discussing her plans to find herself. I stayed silent, emotions churning. After they left, Cassandra acted like nothing happened, settling on my sofa with my Netflix. They're right, she said casually. You wouldn't move out. This place is perfect and you hate change. Looking at her lounging on my furniture, eating my food, speaking with entitled certainty, something solidified in me. This wasn't just about rent. It was about respect, boundaries, and breaking a toxic family dynamic. I went to bed silent, mind racing with plans. By morning, I knew what to do. I called in sick to work, a first in over a year. Once Cassandra left for her daily coffee shop networking, really social media scrolling, I sat at my dining table with my laptop and notebook. I assessed my finances. 3 years of saving 20% of my income gave me a solid emergency fund for rent, deposit, and moving costs. I calculated my max affordable rent at 30% of my income, soberingly less than my current rent, even before the increase, meaning compromises on space or location. I contacted 3 rental specialized real estate agents, explaining my budget and 2 week timeline. 2 were skeptical but promised to look. The third, Rachel, was optimistic. The market's tough but not impossible, she said, especially if you're open to neighborhoods outside downtown or smaller units. While waiting for replies, I reviewed my lease. To my relief, it had no minimum term after the first year, making it month to month with 30 days notice to vacate. Crucially, it didn't mention furniture. Everything I'd bought, from the sofa to the fridge, was mine. My parents provided only basic appliances like the stove. To be sure, I texted Sarah, whose brother was a real estate lawyer. "Can you ask Tom a hypothetical about tenant rights and furniture ownership?" Sarah called back in 20 minutes. "Tom says, unless the lease specifies, furniture you bought is yours, regardless of who owns the building. Your parents would have no case without documentation." Confident, I moved forward. By day's end, Rachel sent 5 listings, all smaller, less charming, but within budget and available. The next day, I took another personal day and toured them. The first 3 were duds, poor condition, or bad commutes. The fourth was at my budget's limit with no wiggle room. The fifth, a 500 square foot renovated unit, was in a secure building with laundry, 15 minutes farther from work but near a bus line. The landlord offered a deposit discount for a 10-day move-in. I signed the lease, paid the deposit, and scheduled a walkthrough. Leaving the building, I felt anxiety and exhilaration. I'd upended my life in 48 hours. Back at my soon-to-be former apartment, I inventoried my possessions. Must take, sell, donate. Moving company quotes for short notice were steep, nearly $1,000 for a small truck. I reached out to friends, assembling a volunteer crew of 6 with 2 pickups and an SUV. Sarah offered her garage for storage, and her boyfriend, a contractor, volunteered to handle furniture disassembly. The timing was key. My parents' social media confirmed they and Cassandra were attending a family reunion at Aunt Clara's, 3 hours away, that weekend. I'd declined due to work. Cassandra was going for family attention. They'd be gone Friday evening to Sunday afternoon, perfect for my move on Saturday. The night before their ultimatum meeting, where they expected me to sign the new agreement, I texted Dad, "I've made my decision about the apartment. I'll discuss it when you return from Aunt Clara's on Sunday." He replied, "We need to resolve this before the weekend, Emily. Be reasonable." I didn't respond, breaking their script for once. I arranged mail forwarding, utility transfers, and packed discreetly while Cassandra was out. I thanked my past self for keeping purchase receipts in a cloud drive. By Friday evening, as Cassandra packed for the reunion, I felt calm. She had no idea the apartment and our dynamic would change by her return. "You sure you won't come?" she asked at the door. "Mom says Aunt Clara really wants to see you." "Too much work," I said, truthful in a way she didn't grasp. "Have fun." As her rideshare left, I looked at the apartment I'd called home for 5 years. By tomorrow, it and my life would be different. Saturday dawned bright, as if the universe approved. I barely slept, fueled by adrenaline. By 6 a.m., I was sorting my closet when Sarah texted, "Operation Freedom Day is a go. Troops arriving at 0800. I smiled at her mock military tone. By 7:30, I dismantled my bed frame and was emptying my dresser when Sarah arrived with coffee and bagels, followed by her boyfriend Ryan with his toolkit. The crew assembled by 8. "Thank you all," I said, voice wavering with emotion. The plans to be out by 4 p.m. Big furniture first, then boxes, then small items. We worked efficiently. Ryan and a friend handled furniture disassembly, while Sarah and others formed a box brigade. By noon, my bedroom was empty, the kitchen half packed, and living room furniture ready. We ate sandwiches on the floor, all seating gone. "How you feeling?" Sarah asked quietly. Sad, angry, relieved, proud all at once. She squeezed my hand. "You're doing the right thing." The afternoon flew by. We made 3 trips to my new apartment, arranging furniture in the smaller space. The landlord was impressed. "Most move-ins are chaos," he said, holding a door. "You've got a system." By 3:30, only final items remained. The apartment stood empty except for built-in appliances and blinds. I did a walkthrough, checking cabinets and closets. In the kitchen, I left an envelope with my keys, a check for the final month's rent, and a factual letter stating I was terminating the lease with proper notice and took only my possessions. In the empty living room, Sarah put an arm around me. "Ready?" I nodded, throat tight, and locked the door behind me. The fallout came fast. We were celebrating at my new apartment with pizza and beer when my phone exploded. Cassandra texted, "What the hell, Emily? Where's all the furniture? Where do I sleep?" Mom and Dad are furious. Calls followed from Mom, Dad, then Mom again. I let them go to voicemail, needing time. Mom's message was hysterical. "Emily Jane, what have you done? The apartment's empty. Is this a joke? Call me now." Dad's was colder. "This is unacceptable, Emily. That furniture belongs in the apartment. You've violated the lease. Call back before I take legal action." After my friends left, I called Dad. "Explain yourself," he demanded. "I moved out as I said I might," I said calmly. "I gave proper notice, paid the final rent, and took my belongings." "Your belongings?" he sputtered. "That furniture belongs in the apartment." "No, it's mine. I have receipts for everything. The lease doesn't mention landlord-provided furnishings." Silence. "This isn't about legalities, Emily. Your sister has nowhere to sleep. The apartment's empty." "Target has air mattresses for under $50, I said. "Or she could stay at your place. The guest room's done, right?" Another silence. I realized there were likely no renovations, just an excuse. "Where are you?" he asked. "I have a new apartment," I said, not giving the address. "It's smaller, but it's mine." "This isn't over," he warned. "You're Ascot. Your mother's distraught. Cassandra's crying. Is that what you wanted?" "What I wanted was respect," I said evenly. "For my boundaries to be acknowledged. For my kindness not to be taken for granted." "So this is revenge? A tantrum because we asked you to help your sister?" "No, Dad. This is me choosing my life. I paid the final rent. Cassandra can stay if she wants, but she'll need her own furniture." Mom grabbed the phone. "How could you do this to your sister? To us after everything?" "Mom, I did nothing wrong. I moved out of an apartment that wasn't working, taking my possessions." "But where's Cassandra supposed to sleep? There's nothing left." "The same place she'd sleep if I'd never lived there. The apartment was unfurnished when I moved in, remember?" A pause. "You really moved everything out in one day?" she said, her tone shifting. "And you have a new place already. You planned this." "Yes. I never thought you'd actually leave." Her voice held a hint of something new, not quite respect, but close. The call ended with vague threats of future talks. That evening, Dad texted, "The apartment looks different, empty. I forgot what it was like before you moved in. We'll talk tomorrow." It wasn't an apology, but it was an acknowledgement enough for now. In the weeks after, I settled into my new apartment. The 500 square feet forced creative organization. My king bed dominated the bedroom. My sectional sofa was split to fit the living area. My dining table doubled as a desk. Yet the space felt light, free of others' expectations. Every object was where I wanted it. Every decision mine, from laundry timing to thermostat settings. The autonomy was worth more than the space I'd left. I met my neighbors, a first for me. The woman across the hall, a freelance illustrator, invited me for coffee on our rooftop deck. The older man next door offered to water my plants during work trips. Slowly, I built a supportive community. My family dynamic shifted unexpectedly. Cassandra, faced with an empty apartment, took a part-time job at a Crestview boutique. Mom's updates, reluctant at first, noted it was a step toward independence. My parents, post-shock, seemed reflective. Dad, in a call 2 weeks later, asked about my new place without judgment. "Managing okay with the budget?" he asked neutrally. "Yes," I said. "It's tight, but I'm making it work. The commute's actually cheaper." "That's good," he said awkwardly. Your mom and I have been talking about Cassandra, about patterns we might have encouraged. It was the closest he'd come to admitting favoritism, not an apology, but progress. Mom remained strained, seeing my move as a betrayal. Our talk stayed surface level weather, work, nothing deeper. Surprisingly, Cassandra reached out a month later, asking to meet for coffee. Curious but cautious, I agreed. We met at a cafe halfway between our homes. She looked different. Less makeup, simpler clothes. Your new place is good? She asked after we ordered. It is, I confirmed. Different, but good. She fidgeted with her napkin. I didn't think you'd leave. None of us did. I know. It was kind of badass, she said with a small smile. Dad's face when we saw the empty apartment, I wish I'd taken a picture. I laughed despite myself. It wasn't about revenge. I know now. She looked at her coffee. I've been thinking about how I've always expected people to take care of me, never facing consequences because someone bailed me out. When you left, I had to figure things out. Mom and Dad got me an air mattress, but it sucked, so I got a job to buy a bed. I realized I like having my own money, not asking for everything. That's great, Cass, I said, genuinely happy. I'm still at the apartment, she added. Paying rent now, not much, but something, and I'm looking for a roommate when the lease ends. We talked for 2 hours, a real conversation equal, not one-sided. As we parted, she hugged me awkwardly. I'm sorry for being a terrible sister. You weren't terrible, I said. We just had unhealthy patterns, all of us. The healing with my family continued slowly over months. There were setbacks, Mom's guilt trips, Dad's occasional authoritative tone, but something had shifted. They couldn't assume my compliance anymore. I set boundaries, declining obligatory invitations, and offering help only when I could without resentment. 6 months later, at Thanksgiving at my parents' house, the atmosphere was tentative but not unpleasant. Cassandra brought a pie she'd baked. I brought a bottle of wine I could afford. Dad carved the turkey quietly. Mom asked about my neighbors with genuine interest. As we ate, I looked at my family, who'd shaped me in good and bad ways. I felt neither resentment nor a need for approval, just calm acceptance. We were flawed people doing our best. The greatest lesson wasn't about furniture or apartments. It was about distinguishing love from enabling, generosity from exploitation. I learned that setting boundaries, even painfully, is sometimes the most loving act. I discovered true independence, not just financial, but emotional, giving me confidence that permeated my work, friendships, and self. Today, a year after that moving day, I sit in my small, cherished apartment, surrounded by furniture that fits this new life. I've added pieces chosen for this home and let go of what didn't serve me. That's what this taught me. We hold on to patterns and expectations that no longer fit. Having the courage to keep what nurtures and release what restricts is life's greatest skill. If you felt your kindness mistaken for weakness, your boundaries crossed, or trapped by others' expectations, know you have the power to change that dynamic. It's not easy or quick, but honoring your needs can transform your life and others in unexpected ways. Thanks for watching. Take care. Good luck.